We are going to kick off today now with France versus the United Kingdom. This is an elimination match. One of these teams is out and the other one has to fight one more fight before they make it through to the top 8. But Derek, France versus the UK, what do you think about this great matchup?
Well, it appears to me, having spoken to them and seen their games yesterday, United Kingdom have one very clear strategy: target warrior. That's what their entire game plan seems to revolve around. And if you look at France's lineup, hey, what do you know? There is a warrior there that United Kingdom are more than happy to try and target. Granted, this is Conquest, where targeting one deck in particular has traditionally been, a finicky strategy to go for. You can't always necessarily count on it. But I think with the way that Dead Draw and Ball Control have been playing, they should be in with a good spot of at least picking up 1 or 2 wins versus that warrior before it's able to take a victory.
Well, it is going to be a warrior mirror to kick off this today. And these are both...
Hey.
Yep, they are both N'Zoth warriors. So here we go. Time to start skimming through for the differences. If I remember rightly from yesterday, United Kingdom, they said they were teched against warrior, but they weren't teched that well. It was just one Hecklebot, and pretty much that's it. There's no Hakar. There's no... Oh, yeah, okay, they got Elysiana and the Panda, sure.
Yeah, I actually asked Ball Control about this. And he said that Hakar is not good versus warrior. It just introduces an element of flippiness, which you don't really want to go for when you have what is on average a greedier list. Yeah, Hakar, in his opinion, is only good versus Druid, and I'd have to imagine OTK Paladin as well, but no one's playing that.
Ball Control did mention why he shielded what he shielded. To me, he said that they actually protected their warrior against France because the Druid doesn't have banker, so warrior is just strong versus them.
Wow, interesting. What is France's Druid list? Let me get a look at it.
It's just normal, bog standard quest Druid.
Oh, it's banned anyway. Okay, fair enough.
Wait, what? Hang on.
Is it not? The website could be messing up a little.
Well, that would mean Boar's talking complete nonsense to me.
That doesn't sound like Boar.
What now?
But anyway, in this particular game, it does appear that was that the Hunter's Band? Okay, I think that that is the website.
All right, that's fine.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Boar just turned into a madman for a minute there. No, it's fine.
Yeah. Okay, so in this particular game, getting started, there is of course the Hecklebot on both sides, which could introduce an exciting moment towards the start of the game where either player could have their Elysiana, Brewmaster, or Baleful Banker pulled out.
Speak to me.
But I think more likely we're going to be ending up with a fairly long game as usual here. The only quick warrior mirror we've seen, relatively at least, was I think yesterday with the United Kingdom versus Italy, where they just got beaten down in the warrior mirror, which is quite funny to see.
Yeah, that was odd. It happens occasionally, not something we expect to see here. What I'm excited to see here, though, is these Hecklebots in action, as Dead Draw has already drawn Elysiana, which is obviously the best target for the Hecklebot. But Swids could just lose the game immediately to a Hecklebot into an Elysiana. It's possible.
Absolutely. Swids as well. Also, you need to remember that if Emperor Thaurissan is pulled out and killed, that could be a good enough of a swing. Because, of course, then the Elysiana and Brewmaster can't be brought down to cheap enough to play on the same turn.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, Dead Draw does not actually have the ability to kill it on the same turn that he plays it, so it could delay the Hecklebot potentially, but in the end, he just lets it rip, and is met with a measly contra.
Okay. Deaddraw just having to, doing what he can to extend this game just a little bit longer than it needs to be there, holding off before pressing that end turn button. And now back to Swids again. And he does have a handful of playable things, pretty much. I guess you don't really want to play the Hecklebot. Well, actually, Deaddraw did just slam the Hecklebot. So saving it for when you've got removal, I don't know.
I don't think it makes much difference. Like, the thing is, if
No.
you pull Elysiana, killing it doesn't really matter, because even if they Brewmaster it back to hand, that's only one Elysiana activation they have now. You're still a million miles in the lead there. I guess the only thing you're afraid of is Emperor Sun, because then it has an active effect.
But then even with Emperor Thaurissan, like how much of a difference does that card even make in this matchup?
Not the biggest. It's really just making sure you can play your Elysiana and Brewmaster on the same turn.
Yeah. But for the UK, that doesn't matter. They've got the coin. So even if their Thaurissan was pulled out and dealt with, it just wouldn't matter. On the other side, if Swid's Thaurissan was pulled out and dealt with, maybe that would have an impact. But as we can see, the Thaurissan's already in the hand. So their Hecklebot really needed to pull out the Elysiana to make any difference, and it's been used. So never mind. Better luck next time.
So then for the moment, the other factor that could swing this one way or the other for Dead Swids at the moment does feel like the Dr. Boom in hand. That gives you bits of an advantage, it's fair to say. I think that with the length that these Warrior games go to now, with Elysiana being played 2 or 3 times in a game, the advantage of getting Dr. Boom early is not quite so profound as it was before, because it's so difficult to get any kind of a tempo advantage in the matchup that even rushing mechs, I find, really doesn't help you out all that much.
Interesting. So you wouldn't say the longer the game goes on, then the better Dr. Boom becomes early, because the more of a sort of advantage it builds up over time?
I guess, but so I guess it's not Elysiana. The point I'm trying to make is that it's with N'Zoth in the game, Kartut defenders, and of course the lack of the threats that you take out to put N'Zoth in. It means there's no Omega Dillo, there's no frightened flunkies, there's no Tomb Wardens. Like, all the threats in the deck are just completely gutted, which means, yes, discovering more mechs over the course of the game is good, but even if you have Dr. Boom for 20 more turns than your opponent, you're only on average getting like 5 more mechs, which is obviously an extreme example. It's usually much less of an advantage than that. And that's not often game winning, because mechs at the moment are kind of bad because there's no class advantage. Like, I don't know. It's obviously good to get Dr. Boom early, but I don't think it's the deciding factor anymore like it was in yesteryear.
Yeah, that's definitely reasonable. I mean, in the past, it certainly could have been a deciding factor, because it was possible for one of the Warriors to sort of out-tempo the other, actually build up a board. And again, I mentioned Beryllium Nullifier yesterday, and there have been games in the past where a Beryllium Nullifier sticking to the board really has made a big impact. But I guess that brings us to another point, which is one of the reasons that Dr. Boom isn't quite as strong anymore, is because Discover isn't quite as strong anymore. And so you don't get those Beryllium Nullifiers frequently. You don't get those Omega Devastators frequently. Tomb Wardens, etc.
What now?
Important to mention again, I think that drawing cards is fine, I would imagine, for both of these players here. It is such a ridiculous amount of Elysiana extension that could be gone for, that I think drawing 1 or 2 cards really doesn't make much difference, because one player, I feel like, even though I said it's so difficult to seize tempo in these matchups, that is in the pre-Elysiana phase. Once we enter the Elysiana phase of the game, when they're basically both playing arena decks, that's when tempo is a lot easier to steal from your opponent. And therefore it's unlikely to go all the way to super fatigue. And so I think drawing a couple cards is fine.
Or just playing it and not drawing cards, I guess, is even better.
Yeah. Oh
With the
man,
mummies
can you
having
just
been drawn.
imagine if Elysiana had just been deleted instead of put to 9 mana? Like, oh.
Right now, with the way that my day is going to start out today, yeah, I definitely
Yeah.
feel that.
Like, I get again that it's not just about the competitive scene that
Yes,
dev team
of
decide
course.
to nerf or buff cards or whatever, but man, for competitive Hearthstone, this is pretty brutal, huh?
I'll tell you what, Derek. I spy with my little eye something
Alright,
beginning
I'm
with
game.
What
H.
now?
Is this something you can see in real life or on the game board?
On the game board. I could do real life if
right.
you want, but I think that'd be quite difficult.
Yeah, we'll do hard mode
Twitch,
after.
Twitch can play along as well if you want. Something
Alright,
beginning
oh,
with
they're definitely
H.
going to beat me. Car. Oh no, there's no car. Can't think of anything beginning with H. Hero power?
No, you got it.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah, that was it. Hero power.
Oh, good at this game.
All right, your turn.
Fine. I spy with my little eye. Something beginning with C.
C. C. Oh, coin.
No, good guess though.
Okay. Control warrior.
Good one, but no. It's a bit hard.
Is it? Yeah, I figured you'd do something tricky. All right,
It's not that
what-
bad. You can definitely see it.
Okay.
I'll give you a clue. It's not a card.
Crystals.
Hey, there you go.
Okay.
Nice one.
Twitch chat actually got there first. Someone said crystal.
Oh, there you go. Of course they did. We can't compete.
Someone else said mana crystal as well. Kind of clever.
I'll give that. I was
that
thinking
begins
about the
with
crystal on the. Yeah, I was thinking about the crystal on the side. Right, there's the heckle bot that comes down. Nothing important being
Nope.
found. Dynamatic, completely inconsequential. And I mean, there was nothing good left to discover, like with Elysiana and Brewmaster and the N'Zoth. I guess the best thing would be Emperor Thaurissan at this point, now that the coin has been used, which, you know, maybe that's enough to make a difference.
That's
but
true.
Wasn't found anyway.
That you're going to go ahead and play Dr. Boom. Maybe that ends up being relevant. The 11 damage that he can sink in this turn, though, is reasonable. Yes, there's still a Zilliax into its hand, so it can get healed back up. Oh, and you're going to do 9. Not going to hit him with a weapon, sure.
Guess kind of worth bringing up at the moment. The dead draw is going for a little bit of a different style from what some people might consider the norm of like tempoing out minions, I suppose. But Snip Snap I often find is like the rule breaker when it comes to the tempo battles, because it's so sticky and you can just magnetize it onto something and push a lot of damage in one turn. And it's just a really awkward shape for Warrior to deal with. Like, they can't often kill it and Warpath on the same turn. It's not good versus Brawl. It's not good versus Plague of Wrath. Like, it always requires at least 2 cards, if not more, to deal with.
Yeah, that's true. Just look how much Switz is
Even
having to
here.
throw into it right now. Yeah.
Yeah, look at this. It's munching up everything, and there's still 6 1-1 somehow. That's insane.
Which means, thanks to that hero power from Dead Draw, he is able to sink in a reasonable amount of damage once more.
It's true. We'll have to see whether or not it will actually stick. But you're right, this is a decent effort that he's going for at the moment. Boom Reaver is a very nice card to discover as well. Just creates value by making a copy from your deck.
Alright, banking a little bit more of that damage. Well, banking is probably the wrong word against a warrior, where they can just gain armor afterwards. But still, there is a board represented, and Swids has a Warpath and a Plague of Wrath, but after that, very little removal in the hand.
Yep, you know, I was saying Dr. Boom probably won't get the job done, but if we can see, like you said, that consistent development from Dead Draw, if he gets the good hero powers off of Dr. Boom, like not that one, maybe we're looking at a chance for him to be able to wrestle back a dominating board presence.
I wonder. I wonder. Let the pain speak to me.
Yeah, Swid's in a way kind of just forced to throw down these cards for not all too great value, you know. Dead Draw is able to use his own removal to chip through here quite happily. Like, we could just see Hero Power Plague of Wrath, or Hero Power trade with the Mummy Plague of Wrath is not the worst play I've ever heard of.
Okay.
Allows you to push that 5 damage to face.
I'm looking at the Acolyte and wondering, does it matter? Like, is there a world in which actually dealing 3 unique bits of damage to that Acolyte makes a difference?
Maybe, yeah. I mean, I think I'd probably rather starve them with cards at this point.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Swids has so few cards in hand and has been removing Dead Draw's stuff so inefficiently over the last few turns that that does make sense. It's weird with the context of this matchup, but with the way the game state is at the moment, yeah, it does make sense. Swids is staring at a pretty awkward board at the moment. Warpath Plague of Wrath is still available in hand, but then that is sort of it. That is not only the whole turn, but that is all of his removal gone.
Yeah, if he was then to face down an Azoth, he could be looking at a pretty scary board actually.
Okay, so assuming this hits the 7-9, it does. Plague of Wrath will clear up all of this board, and the Warpath is still there in the hand. Warpath does deal with most of an Azoth board. It deals with everything except an Azoth.
Very big distinction.
This would be a good time for a master plan.
Deadjaw gonna have to try and repopulate the board in any way that he can. Gonna start with a Discover. Spring Rocket. Maybe that 2 damage is relevant. Harvest Golem doesn't do too much, and Eternium Rover, while often the pick, doesn't seem that relevant in the current state of the game.
It may just be enough though, even though this doesn't have rush, to just buy the time here for Swids until he's able to get a proper swing back onto the board. Deaddraw has decent enough answers, I suppose, with like a Shield Slam and a Restless Mummy coming through. But I am hesitant to say that this will be enough to deliver an early lethal for Deaddraw.
Okay then. Okay then.
It's starting to look like with this very powerful snip snap play from Swids, he's weathering that storm. 13 health is low, but with all of these 1-1s, it's difficult for Deadjaw and Ball Control to really push that much damage to the face this turn. And Swids does have a shield block, a shield slam. He's got the means to remove most of what Deadjaw can put out at the moment, and has now picked up N'Zoth.
Yeah, that's probably all you need to get over the finish line.
So yeah, what started to look like a game that Deadjaw may have just managed to push through, it's looking like Swids has now said, no, this is a proper N'Zoth Warrior Mirror, my friend. It is not going to end that easily.
Yeah, should extend us nicely through to the Lysiana Brutal Balemaster. Wow, Youthful Brewmaster phase of the match, which is where things definitely get a little bit more exciting at the very least. Once the Lysiana cards are generated, you're done with the dance, the courting, the wooing of this warrior phase, and you're able to get into the actual grumpy pumpy of the match. Holding off though for the moment on the N'Zoth, wants to get a little bit more value, I guess maybe off the Snip Snap dying, or just saying there's pretty much no way I die here, so let's just extend it that little bit further.
Pretty much no way I die. Is that really true?
Oh,
yeah, I guess it is.
Sorry, this was really smart because of the hero power. I just realized Deaddraw has the Kaboom Bot hero power, which is the one way to asymmetrically affect the board. So we could have gone Kaboom Bot plus Plague of Wrath, blow everything up. And even though he wouldn't have been able to deliver lethal, obviously there, that deals a bit too easily for Swids' liking with his board. So I think that's actually a smart play.
I mean, as it happens, Deadjaw is only 6 off of lethal. I believe there's no discovered cards in the hand, so there's no way for any sort of war gear shenanigans. So you're right, there was really no way for Deadjaw to deliver lethal this turn, but it is worth pointing out that he's getting close. even this turn, he's going to push that a little bit further.
Let the pain speak to me.
And although this obviously is still unlikely, it's fair to say, to actually deliver lethal for Dead Draw, that's not really the important factor. That's not really what he's going for. I think it's fair to say he's more just trying to move towards a state where he just has an advantage in the late game. Every bit of chip damage means an extra turn of fatigue for him and one less for his opponents.
What now?
Okay, well, Swids can clear this up. He's got a weapons project and a shield block now. So back into some realm of safety. But how does he clear the Nazar?
I guess play his own Nazoth is probably the best response
Right, yeah,
he's
okay.
got to that.
Fair enough.
And it's not a bad response at all, to be fair. Yeah, there we go. That's how you're going to stay alive in this one. There is no kaboom. Hero power, so of course Dead Draw is forced. Most likely, just trade 1 for 1
Oh, God. He came so close.
here. He really
So
did.
close to just winning the game outright. Where's that mass dispel when you need it? Where's
Oh,
Zephyrus?
can you imagine? Oof. Well, the funny thing is, he wouldn't even be able to play Zephyrus
This
here.
would be a good time for a master plan.
Oh, I guess he
Oh,
could
no,
go
of course.
trade the Golem Warpath and then he could do it.
Okay,
Or rush it because it's a mech and I'm a dum-dum.
yeah. Oh yeah, of course. This is so disheartening for the United Kingdom now. Having just worked so hard to get to this position, and now just watching Swids go back up to 30 health again.
Yeah, it's brutal. It's very brutal. But I'd say they're still in a very good position. They have a huge amount of armor, whereas Swids has none. They've had a few turns of sort of boom, you know, it got them a little bit of value. And they have the second Omega Assembly, importantly, which, I mean, hey, the first one got them a Boom Reaver. That's a pretty sweet deal that they were able to get out of it. Maybe they can get themselves another one.
Oh! Dead Draw! You know this. Oh no!
He missed a bunch of attacks there, right? Oh, he missed a
Yeah,
Warpath,
yeah. Yeah. A lot went wrong that turn. I assume the 2 attacks, the one's going into the Nazoth and then the Warpath was the intended play there. But that is now 2 days in a row in which Dead Draw has missed a vital attack.
It is indeed. And you can see how frustrated he is. You know, when it's just himself he's let down, that's one thing. When it's also Ball Controller who's making the decisions along with, as well as the entirety of our great nation, it's a lot to have on his shoulders. Right, that looks like a good amount of stabilization to me. Really just down on removal resources now is Swids' I think you could definitely say one disadvantage. He is, however, way behind on fatigue, which is kind of a good thing, obviously. But, I mean, in a way, it's also kind of a bad thing, because we were talking about the Elysiana phase, and how when it gets to that point, Deaddraw may just be able to put on enough pressure that he wins the game, or at the very least, denies Swids the turn to ever play his Elysiana because he'll be so behind on board.
Absolutely. Yeah, if Deaddraw can continue to play this as aggressively as he has been playing this the game so far, yes, his opponent still has 22 health, but as you said, so few cards in hand.
This would be a good time for a master plan.
I'm wondering what... Could just go ahead and play Elysiana now? I don't know what the 2 cards left in the deck are, but they must be somewhat vital for him to be holding back still. Oh, is it a second Omega Assembly?
They've already played the first one.
Oh, they played the first one, okay.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just wanting to make sure they can bounce it back, right?
Oh, of course, yeah, sure.
Before they go off here. So
Though
it's
again,
smart
following
completely through
your
deck.
logic from a minute ago, does that... Does that even matter? Oh, sorry if I'm down there. Does that even matter? Can Deaddraw not just be very, very aggressive, play the Elysiana, like slam down the 7/7, and then just try and kill his opponent with threats, or is that too risky?
I think I'd rather just take 1 turn off and guarantee myself 10 more cards in deck. That feels a lot more safe.
Okay. Sure.
But when you're getting cards like Cairn or Ysera, maybe you don't even need to worry about that. Whelp as well is disgusting. Probably... that's actually quite a tough choice. Villain?
Take them.
I
like the lackeys, personally.
Yeah, I was kind of a fan of the lackeys as well. Nightblade is good.
Yes.
Yeah, Nightblade's fantastic. Shield Slam, yeah, okay, fair enough.
That was definitely a reasonable Elysiana. I'd take that Elysiana.
Wouldn't have been the worst.
Swamp Egg. Adds a random dragon to the hand, right?
Oh, I love that
Yeah.
fuse thing.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. See, the whole bouncing the Elysiana strategy. Sorry, Derek. This is difficult with good old caster lag. The whole Elysiana strategy, the downside to that is you say it set you back 1 turn because it had Thoris on the previous turn. But it kind of sets him back 2 turns in terms of damage because now he's bounced the Elysiana. That's another turn there's no 7/7 on the board. And looking at Swid's hand, there's not much he would have been able to do about that 7/7.
I guess Hakar is the other problem though, right? Is if you play Elysiana and you don't bounce it back, Hakar all of a sudden can start to mess you up from the opponent's side.
But then if you're playing the aggressive game and you don't give your opponent time to play the Elysiana,
yeah,
it's very, very difficult. And I don't want to argue that the UK are doing anything wrong, but there's certainly multiple factors to consider here, and it is possible that the more aggressive route on this situation would have gotten them to the finish line faster. However, if this is a more consistent, more guaranteed way of doing it, then you can't argue with that.
Yeah, some bombs, let's go, get a bit more damage through to the face. Once those Nightblades start coming down, this is just a good amount of pressure. Finally, time for an Elysiana on the other side. Does get rid of the Corrupted Bloods in deck, but of course that is a pretty formidable amount of damage on the other side. Taking 8 damage right now is scary for sure.
And again, Swids ends up with just a 3/2 on the board.
Yeah.
More lackeys?
Sunwalker's probably what I'm looking at.
I've seen Saboteur.
That's actually a tough choice. They were all good. Those were all good ones.
Oh, I love that fuse
Desert
thing.
Obelisk.
Yeah, that seems like not the pick.
Ventrico's probably the best there just because it's the biggest, yeah. Alright. Swids is able to get his Elysiana down, delete the bloods from his deck, but of course, he's under a good amount of pressure, and Deadraw's original plan of pushing damage at the start of the game resumes in full force now.
Okay then.
I dream and the world trembles.
I agree. The biggest thing you can play on this turn, slam it onto the board, start generating some threats.
Dream, unfortunately, doesn't deal damage. Nightmare or Ysera Awakens would have been, I guess, the premium options there. But
Well,
you take
you know
it,
what,
just a way of removing... Yeah, go on.
Well, you know what Dream does do is it allows you to play a third Elysiana. You can just go Elysiana Dream back to hand. And honestly, with
Darren,
Corrupted
this game
Blood
is-
in the deck, they need to play an Elysiana
true,
fairly
true.
soon. So that might just be their best strategy, stupidly enough.
Right, yeah, so to contextualize that, I mean, he's drawn both Yseras, so really the most powerful cards from this first Elysiana have been drawn now. What we're saying is that this Dream allows them to not wait until they've drawn all 10 cards and then play Elysiana, then wait until they've drawn all 10 cards again, then play Elysiana. What we're saying is get on, play a second one now as it's sort of a bonus Elysiana, just to get rid of those bloods immediately. And potentially shuffle some more powerful cards in the deck.
Also just means even with the fact that they would have to go for an Elysiana, they're still in a better fatigue situation than Swids, despite how much earlier they played their own Elysiana. This is a nutty game.
That all being said, though, playing Elysiana and dreaming it does mean you're not putting anything onto the board, and Swids only has 12 health.
That's true.
So I do prefer this Ysera play, and just the idea of, yeah, just kill him.
Yeah, they haven't actually drawn any of their bloods yet, so I think until they start drawing them, they're probably at liberty to carry on
That
happily.
belongs in a museum.
They did, I suppose, on the previous turn, give them the chance to just overdraw it completely. They got rid of the Whelp instead, of course, which was a little bit unfortunate, but that was like a 1 in 9 game plan where they're just at a fantastic advantage at that point.
Okay, then.
Kind of surprised that Potion Vendor was the pick there, instead of the Ventureco Mercenary. Obviously, Ventureco Mercenary has a huge downside, which maybe was too much to pay, but this Potion Vendor is pretty terrible.
On the other side of things looking great though with Dead Draw. Shield Slam, just kill a thing for free. Great. There's no pressure in the hand though. Like Laughing Sister does not count. 3 mana 3/5 is not considered like as nutty as it was back in the day when Ysera first came out. So
Yeah.
maybe he has to go ahead and play that Elysiana now, but it feels bad not developing.
This would be a good time for a master.
I mean, like
plan.
Elysiana Shield Slam and then bounce it. Is that bad? You're only deleting 6 real cards from your deck.
Oh, I love that fuse thing.
Sure, this seems fine as well.
I'm just a big fan of put stuff on the board that can hit your opponent. And granted, the 0/9 can't. But Laughing Sister hits the board now. That's something. Whilst also clearing Swid stuff. 7 damage ready to go. That's another Laughing Sister. That's not a Nightmare. That's not a Ysera's Awaken.
Yeah, that's another one of the probably worst cards here. But I mean, I guess a 3/5 every turn is just pretty good to start getting some extra value. Interestingly enough for Dead Draw, he's getting a little bit closer to that state where he can't start overdrawing bloods deliberately, because it is a strategy you can go for. As we do see the Warpath come down to completely destroy Swid his own side of the board.
That
He's obviously
wasn't
going
a
for the brawl
brawl.
there. Yeah, that was quite funny.
Even
what I was going to say is that,
Dream.
yeah, that would have been good. But the strategy I was thinking of is that you can deliberately cultivate the bloods, allow them to multiply in your deck, and then get up to 10 cards in hand so that you start overdrawing them, which effectively adds cards to your deck and pushes fatigue further away. But I think with the Elysiana and Dream in hand, that probably doesn't need to happen for Dead Draw. He can just happily extend fatigue with Elysianas.
This would be a good time for a master plan.
Swid's still only on 13 health. Health total has been problematic for France throughout this game, but now it is getting really scary. Maybe the second Saboteur will bring out the Brawl, and maybe the Saboteur will win the Brawl, but that's pretty much what Swid's needs now.
Who's laughing now, eh?
You didn't need that, did
Yep,
you?
going for a brawl this time.
Hey!
Honestly, Deadraw's probably fine to see that, like, as long as it wasn't destroyed. Even with that out.
Saboteur wins the Brawl as well, wow. Alright, with 2 more bloods being shuffled into the deck, it's probably time to play that Elysiana. And I think now, given the position Swids has now found himself in, Deadjaw now needs to consider playing a much longer strategy. He needs to actually go for the fatigue plan
100%.
rather than the damage plan.
Okay then.
He's still at a massive advantage. Like, make no mistake, Deaddraw has got himself
Absolutely.
in a fantastic position in this game.
As
Whether he
long
goes
as
for
this
damage-
Elysiana isn't terrible, then he'll be fine.
Honestly, even if it is terrible, I think he'll be fine. Like, the disparity between the 2 Elysianas for him and Swids would have to be so large
Right.
for him to
Well,
not be at a
in the
massive-
world that Swids gets Nazoths and things, then it
Sure, yeah.
I guess that's the real thing. A terrible Elysiana is not going to make a difference, but a really good Elysiana from Swids might make the difference.
Yeah, the problem really was there is that once the rope got to... I mean, well, really, once the rope started burning at all, there wasn't really time to go for Elysiana anymore. So even if that was the play they wanted to go for, it wasn't possible at the end if they wanted to pick all the good options.
Ooh.
Yeah, I guess Tomb Warden's better than Goblin. Those are 2 decent options, though.
Yeah, I'd say so. Both of them looked reasonable. Tomb Warden, the thing is, it's only another bomb, and there's already a bunch of bloods in the deck, and Swids knows that Elysiana's there ready to go anyway, so I don't think that one extra bomb would have made much of a difference.
Fair enough. Just trying to tempo as hard as possible here is to set up a board where Elysiana is playable without dying, which makes sense to me. This is another turn where Elysiana is very playable. Elysiana bounce
Yes.
its Shield Slam looks pretty strong, but by the same merit, Shield Slam plus the
This story deserves
you know, 5-drop plus hero power is good enough there. Nightblade, forgot his name for a second.
Baron Geddon? Yeah, alright.
Okay.
Whoa!
Armageddillo.
What?
Or sure, I guess the Armageddillo is maybe a bit wishful thinking. But he could have got a
Elven
taunt.
Archer?
You know, if he'd gone Armageddillo, Dread Corsair, that gets nutty. Ooh, Volpira Scoundrel's insane.
Yeah.
Sulthraze.
Sulthraze?
Oh,
Whoa!
nutty.
Alright, that
Absolutely.
Elysiana was nutty.
Oh, I love that fuse thing.
Job's done.
Swids' face there. Thanks for that one, buddy. Appreciated as the dream came down on the Elysiana.
I mean, come on, there were so many dream cards. It was very likely to have happened at some point.
Yeah.
They can't all be Laughing Sisters.
They almost can be, apparently.
Well, true.
Okay then. Another soul to consume. Another soul to consume.
It's a big old board for Swids, again, just trying to stop Deaddraw from ever being playable to play his own Elysiana. But he knows for a fact that there is another brawl in hand for Deaddraw as soon as he wants to go for it, which looks like a pretty prime opportunity.
Yep. Hard to argue against that brawl at the moment. I mean, he hovered over the Nightblade there, and yeah, I mean, why not? Just squeeze 3 damage in as well. I guess the counter argument is the hero power does deal 3 at the moment, so if you're really trying to push as much to the face as you can, then I guess the hero power, make use of the hero power you can. At the same time, the Nightblade is a 4/4. That is a presence on the board.
This would be a good time for a
I suppose the argument against it would be you don't necessarily have to go brawl on this turn. You could just go for... I don't know, Dynamatic. You could just tank the damage, honestly. Like, it's not a devastating amount right here. And maybe they're calculating, if we just board lock them, then we win the game anyway.
Just win with Soul Throws at some point, yeah. Ziliax! Ziliax picked up from Swids now.
They can't play it, though. Until they hit Zap, they're board locked.
They can't play Elysiana either, yeah, that's really smart from Deaddraw. Just don't play anything.
Honestly, it's a bit
Don't
of
play
a
anything and then
Swids, really, at this point.
Equip the Soul Arrays, absolutely, and then just wait. Wait until it's lethal.
Yeah.
May as well discover a mech, because why not? Might like get Goblin Bomb.
Yeah, that would be nuts.
You take the Boom Reaver, right? Like, you equip the Soul Arrays now, and then wait, and then when it's the lethal turn, you start by playing Boom Reaver to get rid of those Bone Wraiths.
It's a pretty comical way to end this one, as it does look like this is the end now. Elysiana's just unplayable. It's a great spot by Deaddraw again.
Yeah, I don't think we're playing.
Unless this is lethal on this turn, if you go like Hero Power, Plague of Wrath, it's close. Yeah. I wonder if that was correct though. Maybe you could have just left it there, right?
Light the fuses!
I felt like this was another do nothing turn personally.
Oh well, the
I
only
guess
thing that they
doesn't
can
matter.
play is the Elysiana, and then they just win anyway, so fair enough.
Yeah, very true.
This is all very, very fancy. We're all very impressed with, but unfortunately, it's not going to get there. Oh, Brewmaster! Bounce it back again! It's probably
just need the next card to be Thorasan. Yeah, I think it's... Why bounce back Elysiana when you can just discover another one? Or, add another one to your hand with the Pinata.
Now we're talking. So it's not actually
not quite
lethal.
lethal.
Yeah. So Boom Reaver, and then you can take out the Elysiana and smack him in the face.
This would be a good time for a master plan.
Despair. Destruction.
Yep. Swids does have Ziliax plus the piloted Reaver there, so Swids can actually gain quite a reasonable amount of health. But Deaddraw still has another Elysiana, and Swids is well and truly running out of stuff now.
Yeah, I do get the feeling that Deaddraw could have maybe ended this one a little bit quicker with just doing nothing there and keeping the board lock rolling. But to be fair, this also I think leads to a very likely victory.
Nightblade Dynamatic is lethal, right? Nightblade deals 3 to the face, Dynamatic. Oh no, sorry, Tomb Warden's a mech.
They're mechs. Yeah.
Oh, it's so close.
This would be a good time for a master plan.
Plague of Wrath, Nightblade is not lethal. Brawl. Like if you go Nightblade and then Brawl, it's lethal. Oh no, wait, it's only lethal half the time because you have to overkill. You can't just kill it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Spark
This would
Jewel.
be a good
No, it's not quite lethal still. Still not quite there yet.
Did he miss another attack? Oh no, wait, there we go, he got it in. Right, 1 damage off lethal now for Dead Draw. There is the hero power to wrestle things back up to Swids. Maybe that can get him there, who knows? If he can get a Lysiana, like you said, off the Pinata, this could be a game for him. Oh no, wait, he picked the Brewmaster instead, right? So he doesn't even have Pinata.
Yeah, but he can bounce the Zilliax.
Whoa, imagine that. Right, that little bit closer towards lethal now. Chippity chip chip.
Yep, Nightblade is now looking like lethal again, but Zilliax can do its thing. Can deal some damage to this Baron Geddon, can get bounced back. That is absurd.
Let it end, please!
Oh, this works. This works. That's, yep, that's 7 life steal there. Minion sticks around as well.
Okay.
Dead-Draw? Hello? What's happening right now?
Yeah.
Dead-Draw? Are you about to lose this game?
No. I ban him from losing this game. Like, even if he just goes Dynamatic, which kills off the other 2 guys, rush in and then Plague of Wrath, right? That clears the board.
Yep.
Or you could go Hero Power, which does the same thing actually.
Yep. There you go. That is a nice clear board. And back to Swids. He doesn't have a Zilliax, but does have a delivery drone. To find another one.
Mm-hmm.
Wargear's not bad.
I believe in second chances.
No, there's no Elysiana there. Can you imagine? Oh, it's getting bounced! Swids can still find another Elysiana.
This is the most budget Elysiana I've ever seen in my life. It's a strategy though. Maybe it can get there if he can discover the Elysiana. Then.
The fact that Swids has got the armor hero power again is pushing him further and further out of range. Wargear can trade into Baron Geddon. That's fine.
Yeah. I mean, it's still looking very, very favoured for United Kingdom, but like you said, there's a hint of a hope for Swids.
It's nowhere near as favoured as it was earlier.
Yep.
Even gonna save the Rapper for the second Panda draw. As Dead Draw running out of cards, he's gonna have to play his Elysiana soon.
Dr. Boom scheme.
It's a little bit late for that one. This might be the mystery choice, actually. Oh no, okay, Heroic Strike, sure.
Yeah, sure, let's go for some damage. Close it out at long last.
Okay.
It's finally Corehound's time to shine, it seems. So, Hero Power piloted Reaver takes out the Corehound and the other minion with the weapon.
Hang on. No, because that plays the Brewmaster then.
Oh,
It would pull
right,
the
yeah.
Brewmaster out of the hand and play it. So he can't afford to do that.
Okay, so Coppertail, whatever. Same thing.
Yeah.
Like, he has to do it right.
I feel like he can't take 9 here, so yes.
I believe in
Uh-oh.
second chances.
Okay. None of those are good.
Oh.
Take the war gear.
Dynamatic would deal with the core hound, right?
Ha ha ha.
Oh, I love that fuse thing.
Sweats. And counting 19 damage available for dead draw immediately.
Drink with me.
He's actually going to bounce it. That's so risky.
I guess he sees it as his only win condition. He has to get Elysiana off the body wrapper.
He got armor again.
Insane. Right. Sulthraz plus Heroic Strike. That's actually a pretty sick combo, right? Because then you can massively overkill anything. I hadn't actually thought about
It
that
is. It is.
Alright, yeah,
Yep,
ordering it
17
this way
damage.
because why would you want to be cool? Boom! Lethal represented next turn. Although there are ways for Swids to get out of it.
Yeah, like just hero powering.
Yep.
Oh, Ziliax!
Oh my god. Oh my god. What is happening? How is this
that
not
gets him out of
over?
it.
Deaddraw had to have had a better way to close this game out, right? Like,
Good time for a master
I don't know, man.
plan.
Remember back when I was saying you should have just played the Elysiana immediately and just gone for a tempo? I'm not even convinced I'm right, but I do feel like it would have ended the game.
So wait, let's do some maths here. If he goes Coppertail Hero Power, that's up to 10. That would be lethal, right? He can't actually do that. If he goes Coppertail Hero Power Body Wrapper, he knows 100% that there is a Nightblade in hand because he played against it earlier. So he has to play Ziliax on this turn. This is good recognition from Swiss. He'd be dead otherwise.
Yeah.
Even though it misses the hero power, obviously, it's the only way he can not die.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate, but it's definitely worth it. As now dead draw, no cards left in deck. I guess he has to rely on this discovered spell. Shield slam or something.
Okay. Guess it's not Elysiana. Inner
That's
Rage
right,
allows
that's-
him to take it out in one hit.
Is Heroic Strike ever lethal?
Oh, no.
8
No, no,
damage?
no,
No, not quite. It's at 11. No, because of the healing, it's not.
Charge, I mean, well, ironically enough, Charge basically gives Rush at this point to a minion. I kind of forgot that card even existed, to be perfectly honest. You could throw it down on the Volpira Scoundrel, but that's not very good. So yeah,
Oh.
Heroic Strike for the second time in a row.
Now he's doing the cool thing, Derek.
Yeah, there we go.
There you go.
Awesome. All in on the aggression. Nightblade over the hero power. Love it. Lethal sets up again now for dead draw.
And
And
turn
he rolls
timer.
the right hero power. That's just game.
Yep, that is
Because he
going to
rolled Kaboom.
do it. I would laugh so hard if this turn ended and then both portraits exploded.
It's got to be close, right? Like, I guess it's maybe just a few turns away now. But yeah, I think that's just game. There's no way out of this one.
I give up.
Oh, Swins isn't even going to try it, so obviously keeping track. I'd like to think they've been keeping track anyway, and that he didn't just throw the tie. But there you go. Eventually, Deaddraw did make it. Nothing like a good Control Warrior mirror to open out the day, right, Derek?
What an absolute ridiculous game of Hearthstone that was. Like, getting the dream on the Elysiana. That's so completely illegal. Like, and I still think Dead Draw maybe fluffed up some of those turns where, like you said, it was good for him to spot that he had the board lock route, but I think he could have maybe gone a little bit further. Like, maybe there were certain things around clearing up the board, but it did extend the game for a long time, and a discovered Ziliax for Sweets almost meant that he was able to take the win. But now we're finally ready for game 2, and Ball Control is going to be on their Malagos Druid, which is a very, very nice matchup versus the Warrior. Swids is looking to be in a tough spot.
Good news all round. There's no Baleful Banker in this Druid, so we don't have to worry about the turn timer this game. Like you said, Malagos Druid is insane against this Warrior deck. It is possible for Swids to gain enough armor to get out of range, I guess, but it's very, very difficult.
Love the keep of just the Nourish and the untapped potential. It's the one card that you really need, I feel, to be in a truly positive position up against the Warrior. It's going to be a relatively slow start here, as expected. Ball Control just going to start getting rolling once the Nourishes come down, so I'm glad to see these players mercifully moving on at a reasonable clip here at the very least. Do you ever not play the Crystal Merchant here? Because you're going to have so many cards with Nourish, or do you just play it?
Behold, jewels of the sound.
Well, Ball Control has made his thoughts quite clear, and I think, you know, getting through that deck nice and quickly is the way to win this game consistently.
Yeah, agreed.
There can be hand size issues, granted, but I think Ball Control, especially with the Nourish, with the Innovate, is going to be able to manipulate his hand nicely and prevent that from being a problem.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. And even if he starts overdrawing some cards, often that's not so bad once he finds the important ones. Could see, of course, just a Vate Nourish for ramp on this turn would be an interesting proposition from Ball Control to clear some of the cards out of his hand, as well as set up for, obviously, quest completion and then Nourish on the following turn. But I get the suspicion that having both Nourishes ready to go to draw cards, as opposed to just gain mana, is probably a little bit more valuable in this instance. So I'm on board with his play for swiping to clear some cards out of hand. Coin Emperor the Russian now, able to reduce the cost of this hand a little bit, which is pretty nice.
Yeah, I mean, the sooner you can pull that off, the better. If tempo matters. Oh, he's not actually going to go with the Emperor. He's going to go start with the cartoon. Interesting.
Yeah, what if there's anything in particular he's looking to reduce, like a Hakar or a Shield Slam, to be able to go Hakar Shield Slam on the same turn? Maybe. Obviously, the real power that Warrior has in this matchup is being able to get down an early Hakar so that Ball Control is unable to play Zephrys or Elise, because there'll be 2 copies of Corrupted Blood in the deck, which obviously messes up the Highlander aspect of those cards. It's kind of interesting to think that one of the nerfs that a lot of players have been calling for Druid is that Zephyrus and Elise should only be active if your deck started with no duplicates, which would of course completely
Oh,
gut
yeah,
the
yeah.
Druid archetype. But if that were the
It
case,
would.
Hakar would no longer be good against Druid because it would only matter if your deck started with it, not if they have duplicates at the end.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of that nerf, honestly. I mean,
Really?
I don't think Druid is generally a huge problem at the moment when you compare it to the likes of Shaman,
For sure.
and hopefully a new expansion which comes out in a week or just over a week will sort out the problem for it. You know?
Yeah, I can see that. Like, obviously Druid is allowed to do some stupidly powerful things late game, but I think it introduces some creative deck building, which is like pretty good to have at the moment. Swid's wondering whether or not it's worth killing it off at all there, and I think the conclusion he comes to is, you know, if you're spending your mana cleverly, you can kind of turn on or turn off the card draw effect anyway, so you may as well just kill it off so that they can't cycle through their deck too quickly. Because it's already drawn like 4 or 5 cards at this point, it's nutty.
Dig, dig, dig. It tends to be the second Crystal Merchant that starts to cause problems for the Druid. Like, it just gets clogged in the hand. Like, you don't want to play it because you get to the point where you don't want to keep drawing. You don't want to not play it. So you have to sort of play it and then try and spend all of your mana.
What now? By the power of Ragnaros, I have the power!
Getting a bit interesting now. Ball Control obviously wants to clear cards out of his hand, is his biggest priority at the moment. So I guess the best way to do that would be Starfall, number 1. Absolutely agree. That's a great way to start. And I mean, you could actually argue it's worth going for Starfall number 2 over Oasis Surger. But I think I'd probably rather see it just to get a bit of threat on the board, at least force Swids to react in some way.
Yeah, and it's just one of those awkwardly shaped boards as well, isn't it? Like, what is the efficient way to do this? Warpath is nothing. Warpath Plague is probably the best you've got. Brawl doesn't quite deal with everything. It's just annoying.
Time waits for no one.
Right, time to try and snipe something useful here. Dream Petal Florist, yeah, that's pretty good. You'd definitely take that if you can't get something a little bit more valuable like Malagos or Elise. It's definitely not crucial to the combo, make no mistake, but it definitely does help bump up your damage a little bit. And if it survives anyway, who the heck cares?
Well, yeah,
Alright, yeah,
we're gonna
take it
get
out.
rid of that thing right now. Can't have that happening and making those Malagos combos even easier.
Yeah, that is a pretty big deal,
So-
to be fair. It definitely makes it harder for Ball Control to find lethal now. But with Floop still in hand, I think he's still in a very good spot to be able to win the game.
So Geppetto hasn't been drawn yet. Geppetto could pick up Kun, I guess, which can help.
True, yeah.
I wonder.
So obviously Ball Control wants to start dumping some cards as the first thing this turn so that he can actually play the second Nourish. If he starts with Crystal Merchant, then he could go Nourish, which allows him 4 mana left over. And then I suppose, like, just dumping out a Moonfire sounds pretty dreadful, actually. It's kind of tough after that point, but I think starting with that is probably a good way to go. Just because you need to play this Nourish at some point. Yeah, I agree with this play. War Druid Loti, perfect, utilizes all the mana, so no overdraw whatsoever. That was a nice turn. The really sad thing for Swids at the moment is no Hakar, no N'Zoth, none of those key cards I was talking about to give you a shot against the Mali Druid.
Yeah, there's really not much Swids can do to defend himself. I mean, I guess he could play Harrison and try and draw one of those key cards, but in the meantime, he's taking quite a bit of damage, and there's just nothing he can do to stop that. Well, a Warpath, Dynamatic would actually clear the board.
Okay.
Oh no, it wouldn't. It'd be 1 damage off.
Oh,
no,
yeah,
it
one
would
off.
with the weapon. With the weapon, it could do it.
Okay.
But is that
That's
too
something
much
to
of a
consider.
spend?
That belongs in a museum.
I mean, it's not terrible. Harrison Jones feels like a good way to just start turboing towards those cards that I said that really make a difference.
Yeah, there you go. Super Collider is an instant kill on the Crystal Merchant.
It's just this big stodgy hand at the moment, which is, you know, a pretty good
Yeah.
problem to have. But at the moment, the only thing that's actually holding back board control from sailing to a victory. He's
Crystal Merchant is gone.
probably-
That's something. Innovate
Yeah,
costs nothing. That's something. The Wrath is a little awkward, I guess. The Starfall needs to be played sooner rather than later.
The real blessing, I guess, at the moment is that he doesn't actually have to do that much damage. Like, often you're having to do 45, 50 damage up against a warrior, which is definitely doable, but a little bit tricky to assemble. In this instance, where Swids is tanking a lot of damage, Ball Control only needs to do a very basic Malagos combo to be able to get the win.
I wonder.
If he's able to copy a Floop with the Elise, and one of them is a Malagos Floop, then he'd be able to just quite easily do 30 damage in a turn with just Floop, Floop, Moonfire, Moonfire, Moonfire.
I must choose.
Alright, looks like we're going to just have a full Warpath turn. Which clears the board quite nicely. It's not... I mean, yeah, it's good that he's managed to clear the board, but it's not enough to win this game. Like, Swids needs to do so much more work if he's ever going to survive what Malagos can throw at him.
So Floop could be just turned into a Malagos here, potentially. Like, this may, probably isn't yet, but I'm just starting to think about the possibilities of just playing Malagos here. Because then you can go Malagos and then play Elise. The remaining Floop would become a Malagos one and a Elise one. And because it's all the way on the left-hand side, it would be relatively easy to copy them. The only downside to that plan, as I see it, is you wouldn't be copying enough Moonfires. So therefore, you probably, in ball control situation here, need to take a turn of just card dumping. Which, as I see it, could be play the Starfall, play the Nubasath Defender, Zephrys Edwin. Seems like a pretty powerful turn.
Okay.
Time waits for no one.
Yep, and that seems like that is where ball control is ending up. Edwin, unfortunately, very rarely ends up being as strong as it looks because it does get removed far more often than not, but still,
Yeah.
it's something that Swids now has to think about. It is an 8-8 that came out of nowhere.
Light the fuses!
Very elegant clear here with Dynamax and Ziliax coming together very nicely.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, couldn't have forgotten King, a banger of a card. Now we're starting to look at some powerful turns coming through. What if this was just Couldn't have Forgotten King into Malagos? How does that shape up? Then it would be Elise on the following turn, which would copy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then one off the top, so 6 cards. Could throw down
Yep.
the Innovate first, so that would be only 5 cards copied, so you would get another copy of Moonfire at that point, which means that you would have 22 damage guaranteed.
Okay.
But the card off the top has a 50% chance to be Moonfire, which would guarantee you lethal over the next few turns. So playing Couldn't Have Forgotten King plus Malagos here, I think, guarantees you lethal over the next few turns. Especially as you could actually go Couldn't Have Forgotten King, Malagos, Vate, Wrath, and then I believe that would set you up for lethal over the next few turns, guaranteed.
Wow, gonna do all of that minus the curtain. Just to explain for anyone that is a little bit confused about how this works, the floop in hand that is currently a Malagos gets duplicated by the Elise. The one that is currently a Malagos changes into Elise. The new floop, the one that the second one that appears when the first one is copied, that remains as Malagos. So next turn, ball control can go Elise and then still play a Malagos, a Malagos out floop, even though he's since played the Elise, which is a little bit complicated, but that's the way it works.
It is a little complicated, but one thing I'm a bit confused about as to why that wasn't a Kun at the start of the turn, because now there will be 6 cards in hand for ball control to copy, which means the one on the far right won't be copied, which could have been Moonfire, depending on the 50-50. And obviously you can't play Kun as the first card, or it overwrites the Malagos on the floop. So I think, maybe I'm missing something here, but that felt to me like a pretty easy start with a Kun there. Obviously, okay, it allows Super Colliders to swing in, but I don't know. Like, I feel like it just sets up for such a lock victory that you don't really care about that anyway. And the Brawl comes down, the Brawl misses for Squids, and that is going to be a very easy win now for Brawl. I don't think he has to mess around with anything too difficult here. Malagos, Elise, Moonfire, 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 Moonfire. Boom. Easy. Or whatever, this does it too.
Who even needs Elise? You can take your Highlander cards back, Darry. I don't need those. That is going to be double Malagos, double Moonfire, swipe for lethal, ball control, and the United Kingdom second win of the series, and a game that was dramatically faster than the first one. But quite rightly so. I mean, we said from the beginning, Malagos Druid, very, very favored against the Warrior, right?
Yeah, in a fantastic spot. And I think all things considered, a very well-piloted game from Boar. He knew what he was doing very much in terms of card management there. Like, I think at the end, the final decision to not play Kun, because of the Super Collider, it was possibly even correct. Like, I think I may have been overcomplicating it. Either way, I think it probably gave him a 100% lock victory. So, doesn't really matter at that point. The only thing he was losing to was Hakar, and Swids didn't have it.
All right, well, the score is 2-0 with the United Kingdom on top. All they have to win with now is their Quest Shaman, but the series is not over yet. Will the United Kingdom take it all the way, or will France make a comeback? We'll find out in just a few moments.
Oi, oi, oi.
That first game, dude. The United Kingdom just took their second game win against France. All they have left is Quest Shaman up against France, who have the N'Zoth Warrior, who have the Combo Priest, and who have a Shaman of their own. It's going to be the Token Shaman. Derek, things are looking really good for our home team.
Yeah, they are. I think I just accidentally got stuck in time there for a second. But I agree, things are looking very good here for Ball Control. He has to take a win with just the remaining Quest Shaman against any one of Swid's remaining 3 decks. And mercifully, it appears Swid's is lining up his worst matchup first, just so we can get this one out of the way. Control Warrior versus, or N'Zoth Warrior versus the Quest Shaman is traditionally a very, very weak matchup for the N'Zoth Warrior. They do not quite have enough removal for all the value that Ball Control will be able to throw down. And if they're losing tempo early on, that's when things can go very, very wrong indeed. But they are not defenseless, to be fair. They do have a few ways to fight back.
Yeah, for sure. And in the early game, it's sort of down to the Shaman to try and complete that quest as quickly as possible whilst retaining the necessary resources to win the game with. So we're going to go ahead and start with the Sludge Slurper. And now already, Boar is having to think about this Ethereal Lackey. Do I want 1 spell now, or do I want 2 discovered spells later?
I think at this point, you know, you've got to start actually playing some battle cries. Like, how many? 6 is quite a lot to play before you're getting double battle cry activations. So I think I'd rather see this come down before the quest. Not necessarily on this turn, of course, because you don't want to give a value trade to the opposing town crier. But I think, yeah, you could quite happily play this in the next few turns, possibly with the Wasp on turn 4.
My invention.
Job done.
Barista Lynchon being found right at the start is absolutely fantastic. That's one of the reasons that Mexico was losing this matchup, I thought, up against Chinese Taipei, I believe it was, earlier this weekend. Because Barista Lynchon was literally the bottom card, and it was burned off the top of their deck after they played Shudderwalk. But now for Ball Control, finding it right at the start, that can be often the absolute difference maker. Because once that comes down on a healthy board, Warrior can just pack up and go home. There's nothing they can do.
And at some point, there will be a healthy board, which that can be played on. So, very, very good news for Board Control indeed. Weaponized Wasp, just going to make very short work of that Acolyte of Pain. Really, all things are looking good for the United Kingdom at the moment. Wait, what's Boar laughing at? Do you think Dead Draw told a joke?
That would be a first, I'd have to imagine. That sounded mean. It's not that Dead Draw's not funny, it's just he's very reserved in person.
What now?
Apparently as well, I was talking to Boar and he ratted out his teammate here. Apparently, when they were playing together, Ball Control wanted to be an early conceder, but Dead Draw wouldn't let him. He wanted him to fight out to the bitter end every time.
Really?
That's the gossip. Yep.
Interesting.
I mean, Ball Control is like the
Control's
ultimate salty conceder, right? Like, as soon as he starts falling behind, he's just like, whatever, we can't win, let's throw this one down.
Not in a tournament, though.
I guess not. He's a realist, though. He's a pragmatist, is Ball Control. Wow, Switch throwing down the coin right at the start to get, you know, what is a decent body onto the board, but also, I'd imagine, just keep that card draw rolling. Does mean that he's keeping up very, very heavily in terms of board control, which is exactly what you want against the Quest Shaman. This is what I was saying. If the Warrior can keep up early on, that's when there's a real chance for the Warrior to win.
I wonder.
Boar having to still having to go through the different methods to complete the quest and work out which one he wants to pursue. Those mind control techs are useless at the moment, but could be valuable against an Azoth later on. Is it worth just throwing one of those out? Life Drinker, the damage that it deals after the quest has been completed can be so severe. It feels like a waste to throw that out now.
Nothing feels perfect, I'll definitely admit that. My first instinct was to go this plus Evil Totem. Like, you know that it's... I think we just skipped ahead a second there. What happened in response? Okay, so MCT was played, and then the Super Collider came down. I imagine there was probably a slight graphical or spectator error that was just mercifully skipped over by our wonderful editors. So, apologies for that one.
Alright, quest complete now. If Evil Totem could grab a few lackeys, that would be great. Even if it can grab one, you know, one lackey with that completed quest can actually make a pretty big difference. Faceless lackey, probably not going to make much of a difference in this matchup, but oh well. On the other side of things, Swids picks up Emperor Thorasan. Wow. It's not a bad hand to discount either.
Yeah, it's pretty good actually. You know, it's really just about how enthused you are about killing off the entire board. Like, just trading off the Town Crier against the 1/1 Super Collider into the Questing Explorer to kill off the Totem, and then Emperor Thorasan feels like a very strong turn to me.
I wonder.
Yeah, that's what they, well, more or less what they end up going for. Instead, they go for a line that deals 1 less damage to the 2/3, but means they take 2 less damage, which is probably a worthy trade-off, I think, all things considered. And now for board control, things really start rolling. The Rat is a fantastic pickup there to start generating this value. He really wanted something a little bit more along the lines of Ethereal Lackey or Kobold Lackey. Would have been a couple of very good ones to start generating some spells or some damage to go with the Barista Lynching in hand. But I think he'll be perfectly happy with this situation.
That's quite the reasonable board for board control, but
I wonder.
Swids is going to just have to start looking at that brawl. Does he? It's difficult.
Well, I wonder because the real nightmare, the nightmare thing for board control is the Thorasan, which is going to survive another turn here.
Well, that's what I was thinking. Like, is that? What do you value more? One more proc on the Thorasan, or not taking 8 damage next turn? I mean, the 8 damage doesn't feel, or 9 damage doesn't feel like that much, does it?
I think it feels fine. Like, if you can go for a swing of the Super Collider here to take out a couple more minions, and then get like a Ziliax down on the board as well, I'd happily take. Sorry, I'd happily get another tick off of Thorasan and save the brawl. You probably want to swing into the shield of the Kangor here, because obviously half the time you're very happy, and the other half the time it's fine. Okay, could be a Plague of Wrath now potentially. Actually, it's not that bad on this board. Plus a shield block. But I guess you probably want to save that for a bit more of a value clear later on.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this still feels like a load of nothing. And now getting a discount on the Cartoot as well feels really good. So 5 cost Cartoot, 8 cost Nazoth. Yeah, this is a great situation for Swids, but now the Evolve feels almost like the punish for keeping this board alive. It's only a bunch of 1 and 2 drops, though.
I mean, well, isn't the real punish Barista? What do you get back here? 6 cards, 2 of which are obviously terrible in the Questing Explorer. So I guess you'd sacrifice that in first so as to not clog up your hand. But they're not particularly good lackeys is the problem. Like Witchy Lackey and Faceless Lackey is, you know, you don't want a sticky board. You want damage to face. I'd say more so here.
I wonder. There is little time.
Yep, and damage is what Ball Control is going to do. Forget about the Evolve for now. Let's just put all of this in. Finally get rid of that Thaurissan if that trade actually happens. Yes, it does. And not even going to end the turn with the Evolve. Just going to hold on to it for the Desert Hare, or maybe even the Barista.
I think that's smart. The real thing he's setting up for here for is just a better Barista on the following turn, which I think I actually respect. Like I said, you do get 4 lackeys there off of the Barista, but they're not good ones. You don't want those. You want Ethereal and you want Kobold, and all the others don't matter.
What now?
Obviously, that will all change when we get a... can't remember the exact name of the card, but Dragon Lackey, which discovers a dragon later on. Like, can you imagine Quest Charmer up against Warrior discovering a whole bunch of huge legendary dragons? Whew.
Yeah,
Insane.
that Lackey is certainly going to make for more of these long matchups, I think. By the sound of things. Some of the dragons
now I
that have been
hate it.
revealed
Thanks for
are
ruining it for me.
busted. Some of the dragons that have been revealed are utterly busted as well. Like the Alexstrasza dragon that you could just discover and... Ooh.
Is Galacrond? I mean, what I was gonna say, I know Galacrond is a dragon, but like the hero cards, do they have the tag of dragon in the way that like Jiraxxus is a demon? Obviously, it's a bit different because Jiraxxus is actually a minion.
Yeah,
I'm just wondering if you could like discover, like, say you were rogue. Okay, that would be a bit weird, yeah.
I think not, but I'm not 100% sure about that.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right. Just realised I hadn't actually thought of that. Okay, on this turn, Hero Power, Hair, and then Evolve. Seems like a pretty good way to develop a nice big board.
Ball Control needs to do something quite hastily, because although his opponent has taken some damage, it's got a big, or rather France have got a big hand of discounted cards. As we can see, N'Zoth is there, Kartut is there, Ziliax is there, and it's starting to look like Ball Control and Deaddraw are going to struggle to deal this damage over the course of the next few turns.
They can start to do some nutty powerful stuff. Like this turn could be Weapon to Protect Harrison now. If he wanted to draw a whole bunch of extra cards, just Kartut looks perfectly strong enough to start setting up for the N'Zoth. Another hair found. Obviously, this one a little bit less enticing. So I think searching your deck, yeah, there we go. For some of those stronger lackey cards feels like a very nice way to go about things.
Piper into Slurper into 2 lackeys into double battle cries is a very powerful swing. Is it powerful enough against what Swids has got though? Ball Control needs some of these value lackeys. We need to see some ethereal lackeys really. Witchy lackey wouldn't be the worst either.
Let me show you the other
Is
side.
an afterthought.
I guess Ball Control is trying to set up his hand so that he can go Sludge Slurper, Lackey, Barista.
Okay,
Obviously with
fair
the hero
enough.
power
Yeah,
first.
I'd be okay with that plan. Yeah, I think that's a good plan. Still plenty of options now for Swids, I guess we could see an early Nazoth before he has 4 minions, so that MCT couldn't steal one of them is worth considering. Or at the same time, just Dr. Boom looks like a very valid play on this turn. With the weapons project, I'd imagine.
That belongs in a museum. Now two can hold me. Now two can hold me.
Okay, instead going with a much more proactive, clear line of play, which I suppose makes sense if you're afraid of Barista overall, something like that. I still think I would have maybe liked to have seen the Dr. Boom on that turn, just to set up for a more powerful play coming up, but this still seems fine.
Well, there you go. Sludge
Kobold Lackey found,
Slurper
though.
has been played. Kobold Lackey, really strong. Faceless Lackey,
Yeah.
yep, fine. I guess Ball Control doesn't really need to duplicate the Faceless Lackey, though. The second Faceless Lackey, sorry. You can just go ahead and play the Barista now. This fills the hand right up with
Oh, yeah.
mostly good stuff.
Exactly, it's literally up to the wall now.
This is a Quest Shaman hand dream. Or a Spirit of the Shark, if you're playing
really-
Rogue dream.
Right, exactly. And all it is now is really just about making sure that you can transition this into damage. Like, board control is all very well versus Warrior, but it doesn't win you the game. They always seem to have enough board clears, especially for a bunch of 1/1s like this. Like, Lackeys alone do not threaten lethal. You have to find a way to turn it into damage, which means we want to see weaponized wasps off the top. We want to see life drinkers, these kobolds going face. Things of that nature.
Shadow Walk as well. But Ball Control can't play anything. It's France's turn to boardlock the UK. And with pretty good effect.
Nutty. Absolutely nutty. And I guess, to be fair, you know, Shuttlewalk is a very nice card to get off the top. You definitely don't want to be burning that one. So how is Swids actually
Derek.
closing out this game, though, is the question.
He's just surviving for the time being. If he can survive against everything Ball Control throws at him over the next few turns, you know, with Elysiana, he easily outlasts Ball Control. It's just a question of how much damage that Shadow Walk can do, and those Kobold Lackeys can do. But still at 23 health, which is about to go up dramatically after Celiac gets played, I'd say Swids is in a reasonable position to just outlast the Shaman here.
Yeah, I think he's looking okay for the moment, for sure.
My hand is too full.
That's a bit of a rough one to lose. Life Drink are definitely one of the better cards in the matchup, as I said, to get the damage through to face, and also it is a consistent extra 3 damage once Shuttlewalk is played again.
I wonder.
Alright, more lackeys, more lackeys! We want damage, we want spells. Good, good, good. Man, when this Shuttlewalk is played after all these Kobold lackeys, it's going to be like a fireworks show with damage flying off everyone. Yep, clear the board, get the damage through to face. Of course now, board control is board locked again, worth worth mentioning here. I don't think it was something you could have played around necessarily on this turn, because you didn't have any lackeys to play at first. Maybe you could have played around it, but it would have lost a lot of value. Probably doesn't even want to go for a brawl here. I think Switz is probably more interested in saving those for when something a bit more threatening comes down, like a Mogu Evolve, or any randomly generated bigger minions. Perhaps a Stormbringer is found off of an Ethereal Lackey. That kind of thing generally tends to happen once or twice over the course of a long quest charming game. So I'm all in favor of just clearing things up one by one, developing your threats instead, or your defensive minions, I suppose I should say. And then following up with a ball later on. It's just a very, very unimpressive amount of attack on Boar's side of the board. Evil K-Barat finding some of the less good lackeys there. With 6 of them at this point, you're obviously likely to start finding some of the bad ones, all things considered.
Alright, I'm back, Derek. I can hear you again. We're good. Sorry about that, everyone. A few technical difficulties there.
I mean, difficulties is a bit strong. Technical breaks for one of the casters, I think, might be. More lackeys again being discovered now for poor control. And it's just more of the bad ones. Where are these ethereal lackeys, man? He just can't find any of them. To start finding Bloodlust, Stormbringer, even Lava Burst, Wind Fury, anything here.
If I'm not mistaken, we haven't seen a single ethereal lackey since the very first lackey this game, right at the beginning.
Yeah, that's right.
And that is what Ball Control wants to see. I mean, more Kobold lackeys is great, but Swid still has 27 health. Kobold lackey is not going to cut it just yet. What is going on this game?
It's just a whole bunch of nothing as it currently stands. No real threats being generated at all. And with the Life Drinker being overdrawn there, it does mean that it's difficult to actually transition this into damage. And I think, honestly, Switz here is showing real, his flair as a control warrior player at heart. He knows exactly when to go for the board clears. He knows exactly when to leave things up. And here he realizes you just don't care about this. If there's 5, 6, maybe even 7 damage on the board, it just doesn't matter.
This would be a good time. Oh, I love that fuse.
Hecklebot on a board, which is full, is great. That's just a 4-mana 3/8, and let's start dealing with stuff with the Dynamatic here. Wow, this is quite efficiently clearing up most of the board. Yeah, okay, the 2/8 survives, but that's not a big deal. Switch just isn't too afraid of anything right now. The best thing Ball Control can do is Shadow Walk, but the hand is too full, and it's not going to deal that much damage at the end of the day.
So now with the Wasp being picked up, this is where things start to ramp up a little bit again in terms of the damage. If Ball Control is able to plow through this Hecklebot, then we could definitely be looking at 6 damage phase plus 4 from the Kobold Lackey. Things definitely getting a little bit more doable.
Okay. But there's still an Azoth in Swid's hand, Derek. There's still a weapons project that costs 0 mana. Like, Swid's hasn't even used the main resources that he'd need to use defensively yet. But ball control is nowhere near out of stuff either, so it's still very difficult to call this one.
Obviously, as soon as N'Zoth hits the board, it will be a plenty big board to let rip with a MCT for ball control.
This would be a good time for a master plan.
Okay, well, it is going to be the N'Zoth.
Yeah, he's finally thinking that he can start to wrestle things back on his own side of the board.
And I mean, kind to agree, Darren. Like you said, MCT can still do some work here, but with the N'Zoth being bounced, that is just insane. The fact that Swids once again will get a full board of 3/4s at some point. I don't know how ball control gets through this.
Ooh, well, ball control can do some pretty disgusting stuff now. Obviously, yes, I agree. Bouncing the N'Zoth is insane here for Swids, but double MCT steal with an evolve, that could get him a bunch of 7-drops if he gets the Cartot defenders. It's just about how you sequence this best that gets difficult. Like, it could be two attack, 1 attack. That clears up enough spaces for a double MCT steal. Seems smart. Alright, let's start with this, see what you get.
Double Cartot is the dream, but we'll see. Okay.
Good enough.
Alright, that's fine, you take that.
There is little time.
Then I'd say you're probably trading away the 3-3, the 2-5, you're playing something else and you're going for an evolve. Yeah, you gotta go quick, you gotta go quick.
We've seen the UK struggle with these roping problems already a few times during the course of the Hearthstone Global Games. It looks like time's up, but do they fit it in? No, they don't. That's going to be the turn.
Yuck.
Maybe
they
they
get an attack.
Like,
okay, evolve there, sure. Maybe you don't want to play the evolve there. I can actually totally understand that, but not getting the attack in, that's the rough bit. Actually, yeah, evolve was probably actually just bad to play there, so I think that's probably for the best they didn't go for that. Because when you have Shudderwock with both hairs, remember, it gives you 5 3-drops. 4 3-drops, sorry, as well as a 10-drop of the Shudderwock. So that is probably worth saving. Ooh. This looks a little more tempting though. Hero Power, Hair, Kobold on the Cartot, Mogu to rush into the 3-1. And then Evolve is a very, very big board indeed. The only problem being, of course, it will instantly be met with a piece of removal, and Ball Control has to kind of expect that at this point.
Yeah, Swid's hand is just still so full of stuff. He knows the N'Zoth is there.
Yep.
It's going to take a big, big Shudderwock to pull this game back. And you know, Shudderwock after N'Zoth does mean some MC techs are going to go off and steal some of the minions back again, but it's really tough to see if that will be enough. Oh, the Harbinger.
It's pretty good here, actually, to be fair. It's pretty good.
It just got worse.
Did get worse. But, I mean, if you get Snip Snap as a 4-drop off of Hair, you know, that's fine.
Okay, then.
The Harbinger, for anyone that hasn't seen it yet, the 4-mana 5/6 stealthed minion is kind of like a mirror entity. It's as soon as the opponent plays a minion, it transforms into a copy of that minion. So usually it's terrible because your opponent would see it and just play a 1-mana 1/1. But given how Swids had only Elysiana and N'Zoth in hand, it was looking like this 5/6 would end up being something quite big.
Oh, I love that fuse thing.
Yeah, I believe I saw a graphic from like a HS Replay, I think it was, about like the least played Boomstay cards, and that was probably number one and
Yeah.
hologram guy who's number 2, or, the 5-mana 3/3, whatever it's called.
Okay.
Yeah, there were some pretty bad cards that set, as well as some pretty good ones. Alright, the hand is clear. Shutterwalk has to be coming down now, you would imagine. Obviously, the fact that it draws even quicker through Ball Control's deck is not nice, but...
Is it played now, or does Ball Control squeeze everything out of it that he's got and play everything else in the hand first? Nope, it's going to be Shadowwalk. Oh.
Yeah, I was wondering if he'd ever play the Kobold Lackey first, because then he can barista it back to his hand with
Oh,
Shutterwalk.
sure. Yeah, that's smart.
And it activates the Wasps as well, potentially. And obviously Wasps are firing off random 3 damage, but I think at this point you need something to go a little bit fortunate for him to win the game.
Where are the ethereal lackeys at, Derek? There's one.
There we go. That's where they are.
Your mind from its arm.
I agree, that has been a little bit unfortunate on the Lackey front this game.
My hand is too full.
Barista is not going to do
Shutterwalk, you've got to stop, man. You're not helping.
Oh! I saw Switch celebrate, wasn't sure what that was about, but now it's quite clear. Switch has a free turn to play Elysiana without worrying about any damage coming in the other way.
Shutterwalk, why? Why?
That was the least helpful Shutterwalk I've ever seen. Like, yeah, okay, he drew a bunch of cards, great, but, oof.
Pretty funny, though, in the end.
Funny for Team France, certainly not funny for the United Kingdom, as it does look like, after all of that, France is going to be winning this unfavored matchup.
Yeah, I think they're just going to be able to fairly easily from here exhaust board control of all remaining resources. You know, to be fair, they don't have another board clear in hand, so if board control is able to find Stormbringer, I suppose, off of this Ethereal Lackey, or maybe a Bloodlust, and is able to stick a big board, there's something that could happen. And he has the Bog Slosher as well, so he could bounce the Ethereal Lackey back to his hand. I'm sensing possibilities here for board control, even though it's starting to look slim.
Well, it's time for him to prove what he's got now. And here we go. What can this Ethereal Lackey find? Okay, Big Bad Voodoo, fine. Oh.
You belong to the bomb now.
I agree with this play.
Yep. Finally taking advantage of having
Right.
Ethereal Lackeys and playing as many of them as possible.
What's in the box? What's in the box? Big Bad Voodoo number 2.
Earthquake. Oh,
Yeah, I
still-
suppose Earthquake's a shooter in Azoth. That's pretty good, actually. Yeah, that kills an Azoth completely.
It does.
Yeah, that's a great card too.
Secrets.
Unfortunately, the N'Zoth, if played now, means that Ball Control loses his own board that he's developed. And Bourne knows that the N'Zoth is in Swid's hand, ready to be played.
That's right, yeah. Which is honestly why I was kind of expecting Swids to go for it. I guess actually from Swids' perspective, you know, the thinking is you want to save N'Zoth to be the final, the game is over card. Like, you play that, lights out, and then Ball Control doesn't have a win condition anymore. So it makes sense to me why he's not going to use the N'Zoth there, even though we can clearly see that was probably the best play he had available. Right, easy peasy board clear. Back to square one for board control. No more hairs, no more Mogus. So this evolve is looking less than incredible.
Okay.
Any elementals that can be generated here, like that one,
Oh!
or like that one, would be pretty fantastic.
Any way to get that back
there's
into the
no
hand?
way
No,
to
there isn't, is there?
bounce that. Oh, if he can go Earthen Might and then generate a Bog Slosher, how about that?
I mean, I take it one step further, Derek. Just generate another Zephyrus.
I wonder.
Whoa, now we're talking. Wow, that's terrible. How anticlimactic.
Yeah.
There is little time.
Yeah, it is. Unless Evolve finds a minion with Wind Fury. There are only 3 mana minions with Wind Fury, though. It's not looking like much, is it?
It really is not.
And that N'Zoth still sitting there in the hand. Swid's just waiting for the right time to play it. Which, you know, he's got to at least clear the board or do something, because as far as he knows, that Earthquake is a Bloodlust.
You love my new recipe.
Looks like it's going to be quite a simple clear with the Warpath. Not even.
I guess they don't even have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not even worth a Warpath. That's how little Swids cares about what's happening right now.
That's how little Swids cares about board control. You're not even worth a Warpath.
Ooh.
Oh, I love that fuse thing.
I'm out of cards.
Well, that's it. That is your entire toolbox, ball control. Let's see what you can muster together.
Right. So Magic Dark Grub can't go face. So you can't do any kind of stupid infinite chain with that.
Okay, it's set up this board. Let
That's
Swids.
going to give him a 9-drop.
Yep. Let Swids play the N'Zoth, and then
What if that becomes Elysiana? Is there any way that he can get it back to hand?
no.
I don't think so. Yeah, I guess, I mean, his best chance is really just having a big board rather than getting into the territory, stupid stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
And this is a board that.
I mean, honestly, I think at this point, Swids is... Sorry, I was going to say Swids, I feel like, is playing around the Earthquake at this point because he's not developing his N'Zoth because he knows that's... All the while that Board Control doesn't play Earthquake, he can't just not develop anything. So he has to keep putting into his threats into a board that he knows eventually he's going to have to Earthquake away himself.
What to do?
And that's the thing. If board control can somehow make a board that still lives through a N'Zoth / Earthquake turn, or set of turns, then maybe he's in with a shot. But Swids, with 43 health right now, is looking like he's going to be very difficult to take down. These annoying 1/7 taunts.
There is little time.
So it definitely looks like we're approaching the point where N'Zoth is not required, but probably warranted. It could, of course, just be a Warpath clear instead. Even leave up the 6 attack minion instead of turning it into a 9-drop, because that could be scarier, you never know.
Yep.
Okay, then.
If Swedes just clears this board, the game ends. Ball control is completely out of stuff. All that really matters now is what the 9-drop is. The mystery big bad voodoo 9-drop. But I can't think of a 9-drop that's good enough to outright win this game. The Ysera is about as good as it gets.
Me either. Yep. I mean, like, if it was on a Tyrion, maybe, Ragnaros, maybe, Rule, maybe, but all of those don't actually sound good enough.
And everything dies to Shield Slam anyway. If it was 8,
That's right,
Octosari maybe?
Yeah, sure.
Close out the game one way. It's going to be
He
the
just goes for the 9-drop now.
Nope, it's going to be a 10-drop, Darren.
And then Colossus of the Moon.
Oh, it's N'Zoth.
Yeah, there we go.
Alright, that looks like a big fat concede to me. And after what was yet another mammoth game, Swedes does take this one. Starting to even out that score, United Kingdom still up by 1 game. But France now only need to win with their priest and their own shaman, which is a token shaman. Which means, Derek, I believe we're in for some faster games now.
You just hope so, wouldn't you? Good lord.
Oh, yes.
Finally, the warrior is done with. Oh, that was brutal. But fair enough to Swids for lining it up there. Like, it was the deck that was being targeted, so you may as well get it out the way as quick as you can if you can call a 2.5-hour series getting it out of the way. But now for Felkeen, it is going to be the combo priest. This is a pretty favorable matchup, generally considered, for the combo priest up against the quest shaman. We've seen it go the other way, to be fair, and it often comes in the form of cards like Evolve, Hair Evolve, Mogu Mutate. Those are often the power spikes that are necessary to turn things around versus the high health, high attack priest minions.
We'll see if the shaman has what it takes to defend against what could be quite an explosive start. Oh, Falcane's having a good time there. I liked that little freeze frame he had. Did you see that?
Very cute.
Frozen middle half. But yeah, I mean, Cleric to start out and Psychopomp to follow up with, but nothing yet to combo it with. On the other side of things, though, Deadjaw doesn't have anything to play at all.
Yeah, it's really just a case of whether or not he wants to hero power here. The downside quite clearly being every totem allows the cleric to draw. The upside arguably being that if he totems and it's a 0-2, he could bounce it back next turn. Or he could just mutate it right now and hope to hit a 3-2. Does miss on that one though. And it means that his 3-drops are now not playable.
Well, that's unfortunate.
Isn't it just?
Falcane, though, is able to coin out extra arms if he wants to and just deal with the 2-2, which must be tempting. I mean, buffing up the cleric is obviously very powerful for a variety of reasons. If he next time he can heal it back up again.
I guess, yeah. The problem is that you just know that there's so many 3-drops for Shaman that want to come down, like all of these, like both of these in hand in particular, but as well as the Wasp, as well as another 3-mana 3/3. But I guess even if that does come down, you have the heal to bounce it back up anyway, so I'm fine with this from Felkeen. Seems pretty strong. You again just don't want to play any of these. You know what's going to happen. It's going to be value traded. They're going to draw a card. It's going to die. It's a terrible situation.
It's not what United Kingdom wants at all. It's just the heal and value trade and draw. What did Deadjaw need to take this to take this one back, Darren? I think there's one card specifically that the United Kingdom could draw to take this one back. That's not it. I'm thinking of Desert Hare. That's it.
I'm thinking Desert Hare would help big time, and there it is. Okay, now we're back on track for Deadjaw, because even if he's just able to get a Mogu Mutate, things were looking good. But when you throw in a Desert Hare as well, I'm liking his chances more and more, I've got to say. So he'll definitely be afraid of a Mogu play, which incentivizes him to buff his cleric above 3 health, and arguably above 3 damage as well, because then the Mogu can't trade into it at all without just dying. So I definitely wouldn't hate to see heal plus inner fire on this turn. It is a little bit... It's not a great use of inner fire in terms of killing your opponent, but in terms of playing around Mogu, which is one of the main ways you lose, I wouldn't hate it actually. Okay, they go with the extra health instead. It plays around 3 damage, so it's good in other ways.
Understandable. I mean, it feels like the inner fire just doesn't quite do enough to warrant it. And although, like you said, the playing around the Mogu and not allowing it to value trade is definitely something to think about. Pinning sidekick just feels less wasteful. But here we go. Now it's time for the potential comeback this game from the United Kingdom.
Absolutely nutty turn. You're probably looking to trade into the cleric here instead of the 1-2 because it gives you outs of, you know, Akali the Rhino, Batterhead. There's a few extra outs that you can hit here in order to clear it off. And Houndmaster Shore. Oh no, wait. I was going to say that's Houndmaster Shore. It's just 3 rush minions.
Bunch
here.
of minions with rush or charge. Yep. And Spirit of the Shark again.
That is insane.
Especially with Witchwood Piper coming down next.
That is absolutely insane.
Oh, man.
Yeah, disaster for Felkeen. Absolute disaster. I think he honestly went about everything the right way. Like, I was talking about the difference between Inner Fire and the Beaming Sidekick. Maybe in this instance, it would have, on average, played out better with the Inner Fire, but that is, again, specifically this hand. I think if you're trying to make the overall best play, it was probably what Felkeen did.
Must consider.
Oh my goodness. How many mage secrets do you want, Derek?
Come dance to my song.
Barista with the keysmith?
Oi, oi, oi. Yeah, that sounds pretty good. I mean, I think for the most part, I am in favor of just anything that puts the most amount of stats on board as quick as you can. It's the only thing you need right now.
Yeah, I mean, this is too good. I
Buffing the health on Alec here. That sounds good.
Yep. I am sad to see the keysmith go though. The idea of discovering 2 mage secrets and then playing a second one that also discovered 2 mage secrets was a lot. But still, this just wins the game. Like, what can Falcine do to draw this? Pyromancer is generally the best shot that the priest has. That Alakir has 5 health now. It's not looking like.
Yeah, that Alakir is never dying, but maybe you can clear off everything else. Like, well, I mean, he can clear off everything else apart from the 2/4 here, with Pyro Silence, More Arms, Inner Fire, which he probably just has to go for. I mean, at the very least, this has to be a Pyro turn, I think, right? Anything else just doesn't really come close enough.
Agreed.
So it could be Pyro, Tolvir, Circle, and then silence the 0/3 and leave up a 3/1. It's not amazing. No, it's probably not very good.
Not too quickly.
Falcane's got to do something and doesn't even have that long to make this Pyromancer play now. I hope those animations don't make this even more difficult.
Yeah, he's going with a similar line of thinking. Like, he'd rather get the Tolvir down and leave up more minions in play than use up all his spells, which, again, I think is probably correct here. But it does just, again, allow for this to be instantly munched to pieces by Dead Draw.
Okay, more rushing. Fantastic.
Yeah, the rush is nuts.
Not even...
Rush in and then... I guess you could potentially put the attack on the Alec here in order to get, like, better attack buff, because it's on a Wind Fury minion instead.
That's true.
It's kind of interesting. Or you could just draw Mogu.
That's always a pretty good option. Mogu trade in the
Bananas.
the Mogu with the 3/2 and then buff up the Alec here. Yeah, there's a lot of ways to do this.
Yeah, I like the sound of that.
Alright.
Yeah, that's what they're going for. Just kill him as quick as you can. 10 damage a turn now, swooping in. Lethal setup, a miracle has to come in for Felkeen if he wants to swing things back in this absolute saga of a series of Hearthstone.
And
He can't find it. That's going to be United Kingdom advancing on to the next round, or at least to face Italy, and France, devastatingly at the end of that, are out of the global games.
that was one saga of a series there. And I suspect, Derek, that we have another one coming up. The thing is with this group is that all of the players brought N'Zoth Warrior, and we still have one more series this group to decide which will be the second team that qualifies. It's going to be the United Kingdom once again with a rematch against Italy to decide which team it's going to be. Find out which one's going to win after this short break.